tell you this. It ain't over easy.
Oh.
Was that your laptop?
For real, I don't know.
I know, but you know
I really don't know.
Okay.
The answer is.
You don't know, yes or no, if the laptop
I don't have
was
any
yours.
idea. I have no idea.
So could have been yours.
Of course, certainly.
Oh.
There could be a laptop out there that was stolen from me. There could be that I was hacked. It could be that it was Russian intelligence. It could be that it was stolen from me.
Joining me right now on the phone to walk us through it is former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon. Steve, thanks very much for weighing in and joining the conversation this morning. What do we know about Hunter Biden, and what does this tell us, Steve?
Well, I think this tells us very simply, Maria, I've been on your show since the beginning of this year saying consistently one thing, that Joe Biden has extensive financial relationships with foreign governments and companies controlled by foreign governments that he's never disclosed.
But listen to this when Joe Biden was asked by a reporter about his son, Hunter Biden, and his position on the board of that Ukrainian gas company. Listen to this.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
Oh.
In fact, he's lied about it. This is the first story, and the New York Post has done a great job. You got Emma Jo Morris, and the great columnist Miranda Devine does a terrific job. Everybody should go to the New York Post for the story. But this just lays right out that Joe Biden has lied to the mainstream media. He's lied to the New York Times. He's lied to the Wall Street Journal. He's lied to the Washington Post. He's consistently lied. He didn't know anything about this. These emails show that he lied about that.
He says never, and then the New Yorker piece from this summer in July quotes Hunter Biden as saying his father, and he did discuss that company, and said, Dad said, quote, I hope you know what you're doing. I said, I do.
Oh.
Does it raise any questions for you?
Well, clearly something needs to be cleared up at this point, right? So, yes, of course, I would want an explanation on that.
Also shows there's another story there that shows the extensive relationships they're doing, I think, to violate FARA regulations, talking about all these meetings they're going to set up. This is the Biden family and Joe Biden has a major national security problem. And that problem is that they've got extensive financial relationships across the globe with, lots of companies controlled by foreign governments, and they've never disclosed it. And Joe Biden has stood on the debate stage across from President Trump. He's lied about it. He's lied about this specific thing with Burisma. He's lied about it consistently, and he's got to be held accountable.
Why this case has hit the mainstream is because of a phone call between President Trump and the new Ukrainian leader, Volodymyr Zelensky. An unknown whistleblower supposedly came forth to say President Trump offered aid in exchange for an investigation into Joe Biden's son, Hunter, which President Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, has been actively investigating for some time. The Washington Examiner wrote, the whistleblower who filed a complaint with the Intelligence Community Inspector General did not have direct knowledge of the communications between President Trump and the foreign leader in question.
Oh.
This implies that the so-called whistleblower heard it from someone and then came forward, making it rumor and not an official whistleblower account. Because this account, proven to be questionable, it has flushed out the allegations of corruption by Hunter Biden and perhaps his father, Democrat presidential candidate Joe Biden. According to multiple reports, Joe Biden threatened to hold $1 billion in aid unless they fired Prosecutor General Victor Shokin. The claim for his firing was that Shokin was weak on corruption. In a video from 2016, Joe Biden admitted he held the money back until the prosecutor was fired. Watch.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, what, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
He's got to be held accountable by the mainstream media. And he has to be held accountable, I think, by the Trump campaign and ultimately the American people. But Joe Biden has got to come clean with it.
Well,
he's just a stone-cold liar.
Steve,
he stood up brazenly and has lied about this, and now he's been outed. There is a massive treasure trove of emails and other stories and other relationships that are going to come out with some great journalists that are working on it right now. They're not going to be able to spin this. They're not going to be able to lie about it. Joe Biden, look, he stood up. He's supposed to be Joe from Scranton. He's Joe from Wilmington, Delaware, and he acts like some scumbag PR guy from one of these global corporations. Joe Biden, if he wants to be president of the United States, he's got to stand in front of the American people, and he has to sit there and tell them what his family's extensive financial relationships are. He is a compromised individual. His family is compromised. This is a known fact. He's got to come clean with us.
Now to our ABC News investigation this morning into Joe Biden's son, Hunter, and questions about money he made from foreign business dealings while his father was vice president. Our chief national affairs correspondent, Tom Yamas, traveled to Ukraine to try to get some answers. And, Tom, what did you find?
Dave, good morning to you. This is actually an issue Joe Biden has been dealing with since 2014. But it's come up again because he's now running for president. Republicans, including President Trump, are trying to hammer Biden over this. At issue, was Hunter Biden profiting off his dad's work as vice president, and did Joe Biden allow it? We're talking about millions of dollars in at least 2 countries.
Mr. Vice President, Tom Yamas with ABC News. How you doing? Got a quick question for you.
It's a question we tried to ask repeatedly.
Can we ask you about Ukraine and China?
But kept getting blocked. Questions about foreign deals his son Hunter Biden pursued.
My father, Joe Biden.
In countries where Joe Biden was working as America's top diplomat. In 2014, Ukrainians, sick of corruption, revolted. Vice President Joe Biden went to Kiev to help the new government.
You have to fight the cancer of corruption.
But then, something strange happened. Just 3 weeks later, a Ukrainian natural gas company, Burisma, accused of corruption, appoints Hunter Biden, seen here in their promotional videos, to their board of directors, paying his firm more than $1 million a year. Hunter, a lawyer who had just been discharged from the Navy Reserves for testing positive for cocaine.
Mr. Hunter Biden.
He had served on other boards, but had no known experience in Ukraine or natural gas. We went to Kiev and found even among Joe Biden supporters in Ukraine, Hunter's hiring was troubling.
How do you judge what Hunter Biden was doing?
I think that Hunter Biden did a very bad thing, and he was very wrong. He allowed his name to be abused.
And Ukraine wasn't the only country where Hunter Biden's business and his father's diplomacy as vice president intersected. It also happened in China.
This video shows Chinese diplomats greeting Vice President Biden as he arrived in Beijing in December of 2013. Right by his side, his son Hunter. Less than 2 weeks later, Hunter's firm had new business, creating an investment fund in China, involving the government-controlled Bank of China. With reports, they hope to raise $1.5 billion. Hunter still plays a role in the fund. His lawyer says his stake is worth about $500,000. Both Hunter and his lawyers say he never discussed any of his overseas work with his father. But even a critic of the current president and his children's business dealings says this.
He should have encouraged his son to not take these positions.
Biden's campaign team told us that the vice president acted at all times in a manner consistent with well-established executive branch ethics standards. One person who did not want to talk about it, Joe Biden.
Mr. Vice President, what's your take on that? Was there a conflict of interest there? Was there a clear conflict of interest? Now, in response to our questions, the Biden campaign, for the first time, is announcing if he's elected, he will invoke a new ethics policy on his first day in office that would empower White House lawyers to monitor for any types of conflicts of interest. Now, Hunter Biden did not want to comment on camera. He says he was brought into Burisma, that Ukrainian company that was facing the corruption charges, to help with its transparency and corporate responsibility. So far, no charges have been brought against Burisma so far.
But these questions aren't going to go away, so in the meantime, is he still on the board for that company in Ukraine?
It's a good question, David. So the same month Joe Biden announces he's going to run for president, Hunter Biden tells us his term on the board expired. He says in the current political climate, he's decided not to renew.
Well, do you think people understand this? I mean, you say he's got to be held accountable. The media is not holding him accountable. The files also show Hunter repeatedly referring to his father as my guy. He kept saying my guy while writing to a colleague at Burisma and discussing a $25,000 retainer. Steve, how much did Hunter Biden get while his father was sitting on, was the vice president, and he's sitting on a board of this Ukrainian company?
Look, he got a tremendous amount of money, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. There's much more to come. There's much more deeper financial relationships. Listen, the bottom line is the mainstream media's credibility is going to be on line here. They have got to stand up and they've got to hold the Biden accountable. Not just that. Where's the FBI in this? The FBI had this hard drive since December of last year. If the FBI had come forward when they got this, President Trump would have never been impeached. This is a national scandal.
Who's that crazy cat? He's sitting in a corner with the long eyes. Who's that crazy cat? He's looking like someone dragged him in from the alleyway. Who's that crazy cat?